The all-new Mercedes C-Class Coupé is today in Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. We have two versions. This one here, the C400 in the AMG line, 4MATIC, so all-wheel drive V6. And we're also going to check out the 510 horsepower beast of the C63S, the top sports version. We're going to take a look at both of these versions, and it will be very exciting to check out the exterior, interior and the driving experience both on road and on the racetrack. Let's go. Short overview about the pricing. The C-Class sedan, taking German prices as a reference, 32,000 euros. Then now the C-Class Coupé, 36,000 euros. It's not all about the Coupé style is just more expensive. It's also that the Coupé is starting with a bigger engine already and a little bit more equipment. If you then compare comparable motors, then you will end up about 2,000 euros extra for the Coupé. This one here, the C400, all-wheel drive, V6, 333 horsepower, is already more expensive, will end about 54,000 euros. And then the very top version, the C63S, 86,000 euros, so more than double the price of the entry model. Definitely not cheap, but you will see you also do get a lot of the car with it. Starting here with the exterior on the C400, this is kinda, at the moment, the strongest non-AMG model you can get. Later on, as for the sedan, we can also expect the C450, which already has a lot of AMG elements then. C450 AMG sedan review, by the way, also linked in the video description. Check that one out later. However, with this C400 here, we already got, well, kind of a C450 because we have the AMG exterior line here, and that means we have a special front grille, my favorite special front grille, because we have this so-called diamond pins grille, and you see they are also reflecting, especially from the distance as you are right there. I think a very impressive effect here on the front grille. And as usual for an AMG line package, you also got a stronger lower bumper and bigger air intakes right here. And I think very beautiful with this contrast chrome. And this color here, by the way, is Serenade Gray. Also, again, I'm not really a gray fan, but with these chrome contrasts, I think that really comes very good. Thomas Blue is, by the way, coming later on with the AMG version. In the side profile, let's talk about the different sedan, Coupé, and also the difference predecessor of this Coupé and now the all-new model. You know, the all-new sedan model came out last year. Starting here with the alloys, they are here in 19-inch. This is optional. Usually with the C-Class Coupé, you start with 17-inch, which is, well, already quite good, also from aluminum. Then with the AMG line, you get 18-inch, optional here. You know, we got the AMG line, but optional, again, 19-inch. Would be C-rear then with a C63S. With a 19-inch then. But here you can of course always go optional with every car with a bigger alloys. I think this is still quite a good solution, and you see they really picked those Pirelli tires that have a quite a huge overheaded lip, so you can protect the tire with that. The AMG line here again for the Coupé says, okay, I also got bigger front spoilers here. And then let's talk about the different sedan Coupé. Of course, it's this clear Coupé ending, and really so beautiful to me, really pure automotive design, kind of simple design, but as I said quite often, a very simple automotive design is often also the best one. Another difference to the sedan is that this dropping line here, you can see it very well, especially here in this light conditions, that the divides in light and shadow is carried on over the wheel arch in this case. It also doesn't happen with the sedan. And again, very beautiful element here until we get to the rear, which will be even more interesting very soon. Then let's talk about the difference to the predecessor coupe version. First of all, the whole car got longer, about 9.5 centimeters. Most of that was the wheelbase, about 8 centimeters longer, so we can also expect more space than in the interior. And another very important design thing, the hood was also lengthened by 6 centimeters in comparison to the predecessor coupe. That means a more sportier look here, especially in the front, more dramatic. And that also means that the cabin, as used for a sports car, also sits in a little bit more in the back, that the hood is even stronger then. So overall, I think, especially from the side profile, a very beautiful car. So if you just judge it by the exterior, I think the most beautiful middle-class coupe so far now on the market. For weight savings, to bring this car to a weight of about 1,700, 1,800 kilograms, now with this new generation, the hood, mudguards and the trunk cover has been made from aluminum. Rest is predominantly steel then. And this is now the most special part, the rear, because with the sedan version, I actually criticized, I really like the car from the front, but I found it so ugly really from the rear because of this, well, kind of round, bulky headlights. This has dramatically changed here now because the C-Class Coupé gets the taillight from the S-Class Coupé. And you see they have really this horizontal shape, almost go to the side, and I found it so much more beautiful than those of the C-Class sedan. You can compare it later on again when you watch our other video from sedan. So again, this for me also now a very beautiful rear. The only thing I doubt a little bit, I'm not sure if I will get used to it. You know, most other mid-size car, they kind of have a higher ending right in the upper part and the lower ending in the lower part, or maybe you got a small wing here. Here it's a little bit different, and the same with the S-Class Coupé, that you kind of stop here and then the lower part is a little bit longer, you know, and I think I have to get used to this effect. Or what's your opinion on that one? Let's look beneath the hood, and as I've driven this engine here with the C450 AMG, it's really my favorite one, the V6, 333 horsepower. It has a little bit more horsepower in the 450 AMG version, just a little bit tweaked actually, but it won't make such a difference. The special thing about this version here is that this one here got the all-wheel drive, and we don't have that with the top AMG models. And as we remember from the sedan review of the 450 AMG, you could really drive this car totally crazy, but still kept a very safe feeling, and that's the good thing about this actually. So this power will absolutely be sufficient. And I mean, if you got the C400 now with the AMG line, or C450 later on also available for the coupe, you know, I think it doesn't make such a great difference. Maybe from the sound, because you know got more of the AMG sound spirit then. Other engines that are available, 2.2 liter diesel, and then a wide variety of petrol engines, 1.6 liter, 2.0 liter, 3.0, 4.0. This is then the V8, and the total horsepower range is then about 150 horsepower until just over 500 horsepower in the top version, seeing that one later on. So really, especially as for the petrol engine, you can almost pick any displacement and any horsepower you wish. But of course, the engine part that's still the case also in the whole production process, the most expensive part of a car. And so the price basically is decided really by how big the engine is you pick in there. Rest, of course, by the options then. let's check out the interior, and will be kind of the same than with the sedan. A little bit of changes we're going to talk about. Special thing about the sedan new C-Classe was it was kind of a small S-Class from design and also from the quality of materials. Let's check it out here. Of course, the door's a little bit different, huger for a coupe that you can also get in the rear. And then it gets really interesting because we have different seats. These ones are the seats in the integral look. So it looks like the head restraint would be integrated already. The standard setup would be like this: cloth on the inside, lower part and outer part, and faux leather, artificial leather or leatherette, however you call it, on the outside part. Best solution for that one. Then with AMG line, or also with the real AMG models, you get then Alcantara, or in this case Dinamica, the competitor of this company. Dinamica on the inside and faux leather on the outside. Those are the two options about that one, and those are the two best options. This one here is the optional leather seat for the normal sport seat, not the performance seat. Then let's check out what else we have. We got a flattened steering wheel here because we also have the AMG line, and we got more serial equipment than with the sedan. For example, in a coupe we got the air conditioning from serial production, Bluetooth connection from serial production, and you see again a very nice sporty interior in general with different options. By the way, this one here is a belt feeder. Gurtanreicher would be in German, great German word. And you have to attach it way more in the back, the belt, because it's a coupe. And usually you have to do like, oh, I can't reach it, oh, it's so complicated. But here they have done this, and it's also from serial production. And now I have turned on the ignition, the key is inside, and when I then close the door, you see, the belt comes out with this belt feeder. And see, I can do it over and over again. Feeder out, feeder in, feeder out. Almost like Homer Simpson, you know. You can control the seats right here at the inside of the door. For example, it goes all the way up to the head restraint, upper and lower, and the back part, lower part. You can also lengthen the lower part here, good for tall people, and also seat ventilation is available actually right here. You can see it here, the lengthening. That's really very good. And the sport seats, actually, I would definitely go for those standard sport seats, not for the optional performance seat. I told you in the C450 sedan review already, because those ones here, they are sporty, offer good side support, but are comfortable also for the long run at the same time, and just save money because the performance seat cost optionally. So overall, well, is it different? Well, you have to sit a little bit lower, 50 millimeters lower. That's a little bit of a difference, and but basically you don't feel such a huge difference than sitting in the sedan, but it's rather a natural thing. So these seats I can really recommend. They feel quite good, and I think if you really like an automotive seat, usually you already feel it just when sitting on it for the first time, and then it gets usually confirmed when you ride a little bit longer, you know. And about the rear seats, pull this lever here, then the seat goes to the front automatically. And well, this is the disadvantage of the coupe. It's always like, oh, it's so beautiful, but then if you need two people in the back, not a good idea actually, not two adults. Oh. Thomas, ye old man. I'm here. Well, we do have a panoramic roof here, but then again, the lower part of the ceiling rises a little bit, so you have more space, but again, you see I'm not really comfortable in here. So, well, maybe for a short trip to the cinema, that would maybe work. If we then put the seat behind, it goes back electronically. As I would be sitting, okay, you see, that was the erection from the seat now, as it realized, okay, I have some resistance here then. And so I don't, well, it got back again, you know, it hit my knees. And then it moved in the front a little bit, so that's a security mechanism. But well, I can really hardly sit here, so definitely not recommendable for adults that are close to 190 meters. And this is the cage view from my perspective here. Also interesting to see that. Well, design-wise, it's quite well done, although I wouldn't pick neither leather nor in red color. And then you got some beverage holders on the inside. However, what you can well enjoy from the rear is the panoramic roof. First of all, there is a shade, and actually quite wide panoramic roof. And what I really appreciate, that you can also open that one. So I would always go for those that you can also open. And because it's kind of huge, it's almost a little bit like of a convertible feeling. And you maybe have already heard that we also expect a C-Class convertible later on. And that I think will be one of my favorite cars, I guess, so far. See if I can, well, put the shade totally back in that. Well, actually quite good. And I think we'll enjoy some of the Spanish sun today here. Special greetings to all of our viewers from Spain today, especially because we are around Malaga today and also going to Ronda up. The first cockpit overview, really impressive. I think design-wise, Mercedes does the best interiors at the moment, and this is just confirmed here. You know, the new Audi A4 is really top of the class as it comes for the quality on the interior. But this one, as I said, I think design-wise the best, especially with this round vents. Then we have a wood cover here. I usually prefer more brighter wood, but this is of course a little bit corresponding to the exterior color. And it's, by the way, matte wood, so you don't see any fingerprints on it, and it also feels natural. That's also the one I would go for. The same as for the brushed aluminum. I don't like it when it's kind of very reflecting. When it's brushed in that way, that's a really great style. And again, no fingerprints on it. Also pretty easy to clean. And you see, very sharp and, you know, everything quite stiff at the dashboard. The dashboards, by the way, even in the S-Class from artificial leather, that's the best solution. And why would you pick anything else? It looks nicer and also over the longer time. Then more about the steering wheel. I really like it due to the flattened end and you got a sporty grip. Rather classic instruments in the front, and also the inside of the doors are also beautiful with this aluminum strip there, also again in the matte style. And the whole quite huge middle console for a mid-sized car leads up to this kind of big terminal for the infotainment. And I would be actually satisfied just with a normal turning knob, not with this huge stuff above that, with special touch functions. But you know, that's the way they went for now. And now let's get into the detailed look. Instruments, very sporty, go way deep in there. Classic instrument left and right, and then you got the digital one on the inside, as we know from Mercedes. And I really like the visual stuff that is what we see in the inside. It looks still, well, modern and classic at the same time, but definitely not outdated. By the way, the consumption here for the 3-liter V6, that one, 200 kilometers driven, 9.5. That's kind of realistic. We'll see later on if we can confirm that with the next drive we do. Let's see that one later. Then the driver's point of view, again, flattened steering wheel is good for long legs here as well. There's the GPS and the huge middle console. About the GPS in detail, yeah, it looks a little bit attached on there, and it is just separately attached. I think they didn't find the best solution there. You see, the Mercedes interiors would be better looking without the GPS actually. The visualization, I think, is still very good. And this is a classic Mercedes layout. You have to get used to it a little bit. But then it's kind of, well, I think it's not intuitive, definitely not. But you get along with it after you learned it. And, you know, again, the visual stuff, all the graphics, is still kind of up to date, and that's, I think, to me also very important, because otherwise a car makes a kind of outdated look. So besides GPS, you see, by the way, the reaction time when I zoom in and out. That's the way, and now you can see where we are today, Spain. And let's go to the main menu. Let's see, moving it up, back, then again back, back, back. Radio, for example, you see how that one is actually a little bit of sound, but we don't want to, Spanish radio, but we don't want it today. And for example, vehicle setup, you can see it right here. Important is the dynamic select, because we have the air suspension here, optional, and there you can individualize your car, a topic that gets more and more important. And then you can set up, for example, the powertrain or the suspension or the steering, eco start stop function. I usually not favor that one, or also the climate control. For example, about the steering now, comfort or sport, how much resistance do you want to have. But then we also got kind of the fixed modes that are already available. And those are, for example, Sport here now. Then you see all the different elements are set on Sport or even Sport Plus. It means stiffer ride, stiffer steering wheel, and better reaction time from the engine. But then you can also set it, for example, to Comfort, again, back again, then everything is on Comfort. Smoother ride with the Airmatic air suspension. And Eco, this is then for sailing, that the car rolls, you have to use all the power the car has, and you have less fuel consumption, for example. Now to the rear view camera, a really superb resolution, one of the best resolutions I've seen so far with the rear view camera, fake drone view from above and left side, and the normal rear view camera on the right side. And I can also change the view, for example, to that one, then I can see even wider when I'm going back. Really, wow, kind of a must-have feature if you want to protect your car really when you know don't want to touch anything. You see, oh, really very clear resolution. Going back to the 360 view, it also works when you're going to the front, that you can see a little bit. Just when you go faster, then it gets deactivated again. You see the GPS. We know those controls from the C-Class sedan, very beautiful and actually also quite handy. Colder and warmer right here, or where the air is actually coming from, power of the vents. And I think it's a good solution. Here again, I get another button to go to the main menu for the climate control that is also displayed in the display up then. And more to the lower part, still a CD changer in here. And special for the Coupé, we got the analog clock here. And sometimes those analog clocks look pretty cheap, but this one I could also well imagine wearing right here. So that's actually quite beautifully done, quite well executed. Then the middle console, huge space here for bottle holders. They are also adaptive, not only adaptive suspension, also adaptive bottle holders. Some space for maybe mobile phone here, 12-volt power supply. And then you can see the main controller, also nothing special. Again, I would just use this one here. Volume is possible here. And with this one here, you can, first of all, lay your hand on that one and then control the main switch, press it to change something. But you can also change this one here to go back or to the main menu. This is also possible. And then when you feel engine turn on, you can press this button here. And then the vehicle is rising for the Airmatic air suspension. When you're going over speed bumps or into the basement garage ramp, then you don't need to care about your underfloor, so you have risen the car a little bit. You can deactivate it again, of course. And furthermore, then in the different sports mode, for example, Sport Plus mode, the car also gets a little bit lower. We're going to talk more about these changes later on when we drive the car. And last but not least, storage spaces, also in the middle armrest part. By the way, again, the quality, everything, how it's processed, very good. 2 USB slots right here, also 1 SD card. I think that's map data. And well, quite reasonable space inside here. So for a sports coupe, everything quite fine, also space-wise. See, it's even rubber between here. One thing for your glasses here, rubber inside as well. And the glove box, sliding down very smoothly. And kind of interesting that it's shaped out here for the air vent. And well, hard to access actually because of this high lip. And then the inside of the doors, actually a quasi handy solution, because you can see a small bottle can be kept upright a little bit by the door handle if you just move it in first of all horizontally and then flip it up vertically. Also quite a nice solution then for that one. And as for the trunk, of course, you know, as we told you with the interior view already now, it's not the most practical thing having a coupe. It's so beautiful, but also has the disadvantages. To open it, either use the key here with the button as usual. And then I didn't find any button here, didn't even find it with the S-Class Coupé, for example. But here we got the optional other possibility to use the foot mechanism process. And you know it from other reviews, this process is not really very reliable. Usually, I've tried it like 1 or 2 times now. Let's test it now again live. It directly works. I think it was there somewhere. Ah, yeah. Just 2, I think. For other tests we had with other cars, this was really reasonable. And then the trunk you can see here, of course not a real big trunk opening, but it goes kind of quite long in there, you know. I can almost hide myself in there. Not too high, of course, where I think for a sporty car, it is still okay, but you can, of course, expect too much from it. Flipping the seats is also possible if you use these handles here. And then you have to go around. Put the front seat in the front. And then take the back seats. And then there it is. Hey guys. 2/3, 1/3 split. And then it's also possible to load longer things. You know, sometimes we test out how longer things can also be transported with the front seat here, but maybe that's not the most important part with the Coupé here. But correct me if I'm wrong in this case, then I'll also do it with sporty cars next time. For so far, I think that's enough. Start the engine, and there we do hear a difference that we're not in a 450 AMG, but just a C400. Not this very great AMG sound, although we have a Sport Plus mode here that we test on later. We'll start with a little bit of city driving, then we go on some motorway part, and we also take a look at the really dynamic side and very impressive countryside roads. So everything in this driving part here as well. And I also make again a verdict about the GPS, how we get along with that one actually, and how it leads us to our real destination then. Now, for example, a small ramp. As I said, I could actually put the car a little bit higher. That would then be possible, but here it was actually quite okay. We start with city driving here. I have a good overview to the side because these Coupé windows here are very wide. That's actually very good. We have the panoramic roof opened, by the way. So, because we want to enjoy some of the Spanish sun and also want to test out how does it really perform here with the open roof. Later on we'll also close the roof to then test the sound insulation. But I think it's always important if you pick this panoramic roof, does it still work? I mean, when you're, for example, going 70 or 80 kilometers an hour, or maybe are you like flying away from the wind noise and also, you know, maybe from wind itself. But so far, I think as a convertible replacement, as soon as the real C-Class convertible is not out yet, it works actually quite fine here so far. It will be very interesting suspension-wise because we have different suspensions available with the new C-Class Coupé. First of all, you got usual spring suspension, that is one sporty available and one comfortable one available. Then you got an adaptive one available that is kind of reserved for the AMG models. There you can also set different driving modes. And then the one we got here optionally inside here, the Airmatic, this is the air suspension, and of course actually the best, the top solution, because here you can really combine very comfortable ride and the sporty ride at the same time. Right now I've started in the eco mode. That means if I lift the throttle, I don't use a lot of engine braking process. The car just rolls and I consume least fuel possible then. And of course the throttle input isn't also that hard then at the first time. First kilometers also with the seats were actually quite comfortable. That is fine as well. So I can so far recommend it. Maybe I'll judge otherwise later on. Also look forward to that definitely. Start-stop function is also available. Always depends on which kind of things you got activated, air conditioning for example, and how's the temperature outside. And I'm already feeling this Airmatic suspension. The basic suspension is already very good, definitely, no question about that. But here again, you got a very comfortable ride, and later on we'll also test it out when it's maybe rather bumpy. And this C400, 333 horsepower, is already a massive power output, definitely. So the AMG models are usually around 4 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers, and the V6 models always about 5 seconds from 0 to 100. So it's about just 1 second you lose actually. But here again, with the 4MATIC all-wheel drive, you get a more harmonic output then, and also better to control, especially when you're not that kind of a racing driver. Now we got the red traffic light. Let's see, maybe let's move on to the Sport Plus mode that we can make a good start. Let's go. And 50, 60 even. Wow, pretty cool. And you already heard, actually also a nice sound. Not that really very roaring sound when you got the AMG version, but already something where you say, oh, well, nice. And the Sport Plus mode, that one got actually the extra boost, puts the car in the airmatic a little bit lower, and then of course also gives a better throttle input, and also the steering wheel is a little bit stiffer then. Of course it doesn't make so much sense to race from traffic light to traffic light with that. Then we rather go back to comfort again. Then we get a little bit higher ride again, and also the steering wheel is easier to control. That's, by the way, very important that when you're just standing still, it almost creates no effort at all to turn the steering wheel, and very important for example, a parking process, and in general, good for city riding. And I think every car should be like this, because even when on sports cars, it's kind of a bit annoying when you have to turn very hard when almost standing still. Here in comfort mode, when I go some right and left now, it's also very smooth and very harmonic. I really like that, and it feels really that evolved, like you would be driving a car that comes from a even bigger segment. And I think that really speaks for the car. If I go to the Sport Plus mode again, for example, I see the gears one gear lower, RPS turn higher, a little bit stiffer from the steering wheel, and I got more support from the road. And you already got the kind of tense emotion. By the way, now the panoramic roof. We're driving about 50 now, and I think just from the sound, I think it's still okay. Also, you should hear that in the microphone. Of course, it's louder than usually, but you can really relax with that, and a very good option to go for if you cannot pick the convertible yet so far, of course. Now let's go in the motorway. We've put the Sport Plus mode to have the maximum performance then, and then we can do some acceleration test again. For example, let's say we go from about 30, 35 to 80 now. 1, 2, 3. 80. Oh wow. Yeah, I think this performance is really sufficient. And the engine also starts to scream a little bit. I really like that. It's still a little bit subtle, but again, already evolving and powerful. So sometimes, I mean, even if you've driven a lot of sports cars so far, you think, okay, maybe mix in between, not too exaggerated, but already a little bit more refined. That's also very good for your everyday driving, because you can enjoy a little bit of the sound, but again, it's not done too loud. So let's see how the driving characteristics are on the motorway. So far, well, does it feel more agile than the sedan version? Yeah, I think a little bit, but it's maybe just a very, very slight difference, because it's basically the same car, same length. Everything is kind of the same. Same engine here now as well, just in the 450 I drove recently, was a little bit more tuned. But again, it doesn't make such a great difference from driving. Oh wow, yeah, very cool. But again, also in combination with the all-wheel drive, again, this is also not exaggerated, so you got a very good control of the car. What's that one? Oh, police? No, it was the other time. I did nothing wrong. So, and about the sound installation now, as we have been closing the roof, I think it's 120 kilometers loud here on the Spanish road here right now. Distronic Plus is available, and well, I think let's see how we have to go now. Is it here? I think so, yes. Well, I think I've heard more silent cars, definitely, but I think it's something in the middle between. I think the Audi A4 was better isolated. This one here is still already at very good level, definitely, but I think, well, there could actually be some room for improvement. But again, then at the Audi A4, you had the effect that you can always have problems to close the door, because you have to move all the air that is, a little bit denser when you get such isolated doors. But I mean, you won't be unsatisfied with the sound installation here, definitely, but we've seen in this respect, there are already better competitors now already. So now we're going to a kind of faster motorway corner as we're switching motorways. Also how the steering reacts, and yeah, I got the direct response. Also the suspension is stiff enough, so although we get the air suspension, I got enough response in the corner. That is also fun. I think if you can afford it, go for the air suspension, because it gives you so much comfort in everyday riding, and you have the sporty thing at the same time. And you think, okay, it's done now for the sporty riding, I'll just go to the comfort again. The engine is a little bit more relaxed, suspension even a little more relaxed, and just very slight difference with the suspension, but you do feel them, especially then on the long term. And consumption, by the way, now as we're right here, let's see from that, yeah, we went a little bit on the gas. Right now it is about 15 liters, but that was actually city driving. Now as we are on the motorway and will ride some 20-30 kilometers on the motorway, the consumption will then again go down, especially when I set the automatic cruise control, which is the Distronic Plus here. That one is optionally, sadly, and it's the best on the market together with the system Volvo is offering. It keeps the distance to the car in front of you, and it's almost kind of autonomous driving. And one thing I really always appreciate with Mercedes and both in Volvo, they really got it that all of their cars are already from zero reduction with the emergency braking assistant. Here it is called Prevention Assist Plus. No, Collision Prevention Assist Plus, that's the correct expression. And that one reduces an impact if you maybe you get a stroke or something like that. Suddenly that happens while driving, or you maybe don't pay attention because you're looking at the GPS or you're talking to your folks, your community. That can also happen, that you get distracted then. Then autonomous braking to prevent the collision at all could be done until the speed of 40 kilometers an hour, and above the speeds then at least the impact can be reduced, and that's a very important aspect. So I relax now on the motorway a little bit, see if the consumption again will drop down to this, I think 9 to 10 liters to 100 kilometers. That would be okay, but I'll also tell you later on how that one went down then. And then we'll follow with the next part of our driving, that will be even more sporty on the countryside roads. One more thing for the motorway though, because it is also again very impressive, we kind of got the autonomously driving car here already, just not in the perfect legal sense. Let me explain it. I told you earlier, the Distronic Plus, the adaptive cruise control, it really works flawlessly. It adapts also to if you're going in a corner or so, or if you're overtaking. So that really manages the accelerating and braking even until 0 kilometers. So that's for going front and standing still. Then what about turning and going to the sides? You got 2 optional assistance systems right in here. The first one is the lane keeping assist. You can activate it left next to the steering wheel. Lane keeping assist means there's no active interference here with the steering wheel, but when I get to the side of the road, then I get a warning. So, and for example, if I drift apart now a little bit, maybe you've heard it. It's like dun dun dun, and I feel a kind of vibration in the steering wheel. And I must correct, this is one already. I think it corrected a little bit of the steering already. And let me just try that again, because the first building stage of those one, they didn't really correct. They just warned you. Let's not try it again. I think there's a little correction in the steering wheel. It's really, really hard to feel because I also don't want to go to cross traffic totally. Let me try that here again. No, it didn't work. I'm not sure when it's working, when not. Some it does, sometimes it does not. But basically, it does help the system definitely, but you can't really actually detect a. Yeah, did you see that? Actually, car braked a little bit and also steered a little bit to the left, but that was actually strange because it wasn't done with the steering wheel. It's like that the wheels turn itself without moving the steering wheel. That's really, wow. But maybe that happened with the brakes, you know, that just one side of the car is braking. Very interesting. But then, and there am I coming to the real deal, I turn on the other one. It's DTR Plus. It's a steering assist, and that one really interferes then with the steering. And theoretically, with Distronic Plus going front and back now, I could take my hands off the steering wheel here now, just for security reasons. I come close to it, and now the car is just kept in the lane. You see that the steering wheel is controlling. But now I get a warning already. It says, please put your hands on the steering wheel, and now also the acoustic warning starts, and the system deactivates. So it's more really for the emergency situations where you, for example, have this second where you just fall asleep just for a second. In German we call it Sekundenschlaf, so kind of second sleep. Or for example, really for serious health issues that might also occur while driving a car. If you would put the system through and you see it's technically possible, then you would have the autonomously driving car. But there you don't have this legal fixing yet that it is decided, okay, who is responsible? Does it all work? Some manufacturers, like Volvo, started to say now, okay, we take the responsibility if anything goes wrong. I think that's where we're all heading to. It will be very exciting, this development, for sure. And for motorway riding, I mean, why actually not? So it's interesting that this system is actually already working. And I've heard some of the workarounds that kind of still make it working now, but seriously, I won't tell in public because you shouldn't do that. It's not allowed yet, and that might also cause some problem. But so far, it's good to have this safety system on board, definitely. Then you know that if something goes wrong at some time, maybe there's some angel here inside built that can still save you. Now to the countryside roads, to the even sportier side, and therefore I deactivate both of those assists that have a natural feeling in the steering wheel. And first, let's see the difference really if I go fast but stay in the comfort mode. How does that actually feel? We go, for example, here now fast corners. I do have good contact to the road, also direct from the steering. The throttle input is very harmonic, very calm. You always feel you got a great control of the car, and that, did you feel that now? Really amazing. From the air suspension here, got some quite huge bumps in the road, but that was evened out very well. So not really wobbling, kind of, stiff in contact to the road, but at the same time, you don't feel any back pain with the bumps coming through. So really perfectly done in this case. And then a little bit straight and then right-left test. That is still the comfort mode. So already in comfort mode, you do have a sporty experience that is still relaxed at the same time. And then let's go again for the sport mode, or even the sport plus mode, because then we here also have a better sound. Let's see how that one plays out then. Throttle input, you hear it and feel it, definitely. So test the brakes. The car isn't too heavy. That works quite well. By the way, the consumption went down to about 9 to 10 liters as I expected after motorway driving. Now 9.8 liters of consumption will of course go higher if we play around with the car now a little bit. I'll switch to the view that you can also see how many kilometers an hour we go actually. And there was a little bit of a reduction in speed now, and as soon as that one is released, then I can show you even more of the performance. As for the steering, a little bit more contact to the road, but you don't feel such a great difference. Maybe when we go faster then. And here we can also see how the acceleration is, let's say, in between the speeds. Let's do it now, maybe 50 till 100. That will also be an impressive figure starting now. That's it. Oh, that was actually quite fast. And now I feel that the air suspension got stiffer. You maybe also hear it. Now the bumps go really through, they aren't even out that much because the car has more contact to the road, and due to the director throttle input, you're always kind of tempted to hammer the throttle even harder. The steering wheel is a little bit stiffer now, and now you get in a kind of racing thrill. So although you're just in the mid-size coupe, it can create an even racing thrill than you are in a pure sports car. And this compromise here between an everyday driving car and a really performance-wise sports car is already mastered here in the C400 version, and I really like that. Let's go now at fast speed, right and left, very direct control over the car. Again, I can just stress that I think, at least for me personally, I could go faster in this car than in some other very true sports car, because here you have so 100% trust in the car, and so 100% control. I think that's also one important thing about owning a car. So I could directly imagine owning this car as you totally feel connected to it. Now we are taking this massive C63S, a top model with 510 horsepower, on the Ascari racetrack here in southern Spain. Let's see how that actually plays out with the rear-wheel drive, so much power, and also with the differential lock, because there's a basic difference between the C63S and the non-S version, just the C63, a little bit less horsepower, and the rear differential is mechanical on the C63, and here on the S version it's electronical, maybe to get even more performance. Let's see. All right, let's start with the C63S on the racetrack, and you already hear it. This is of course a big difference to the C400, already just sound-wise. And of course the car is stiffer, lower, more brutal, got the rear-wheel drive, and it's just the pure racing machine. And first I get a little bit used to the racetrack, and the second round will push a little bit harder. Then what I already now feel is that the brakes apply way harder. We got of course bigger brakes here as well, and you don't really need this car for your everyday driving, but for the racetrack, I mean, why not? Also, there's the thing with the different rear differential locks will mostly play a part if you're really a very professional driver and really push the limits. Won't really play such a huge effect here for me now. If it's mechanical or electronical, it's good that you do have it. That reduces the wheel spin, especially when you accelerate out of the corners. Very direct steering wheel here. And the Ascari racetrack is famous actually for that it mixes different racetracks from all over the world in different passages of the racetrack. And that's what makes it so interesting right here. There is never a performance hole with this car. No matter when you press the throttle, it's always right there with this V8. And that's, for example, also the big difference. For example, if you pick a bigger sports car, which is heavier, here as we're still in the mid-size segment, the car still feels very agile and you can very well control it. The balance is very good actually, so even if we're here now in the V8, we got a lot of power just via the rear wheels, it always feels kind of controllable. However, difference to the C400 or later also to the C450 will be, you don't have the all-wheel drive here. That means if you are able to play around with the car, maybe let the rear-wheel drive slip a little bit. In the Sport Plus mode, we feel it now a little bit when we push the throttle really hard that we slip around the corner a little bit. That is of course good here for the racing, but for your everyday street riding, then the all-wheel drive would of course be the better pick. Yeah, actually I'm really enjoying riding the C-Class Coupé, the new generation here, and you really feel the G-force. I have also the G-meter in the central screen here as well. And that shows me how much G-forces are applied to each side. For example, now 0.8 to the left side when I'm in the right corner. It's always, of course, a nice feature for a racetrack to show off to your friends, for example. Let's hammer it even more. By the way, another difference is here in the shifting. You usually got an automatic converter gearbox with, for example, also the C400. So far the 7-speed one. Later on next year they will also introduce a new 9-speed automatic converter gearbox for that here in the AMG models. However, it's different. We got the MCT here, means multi-clutch transmission, or other manufacturers call it dual clutch transmissions, 7-speed. And there you have even faster shifting process, and that is reserved here for the very sporty models. So maybe now we're going a little bit harder pace, so enjoy with me the sound and the performance of the C63S. Surely one of the best sports cars that can be mixed still with the car you can actually still drive in everyday drive. There it is. Now we start to slide a little bit. Wow, incredible. Until the tires start to scream, then you're right there actually. But of course, I mean, compared to a professional race driver who does that maybe every day, of course, no match here. It was 180 and then just hammer the brakes and then 80 kilometers again, so fast. As it goes from 0 to 100 kilometers, about 4 seconds. Almost as fast, you're on 0 again. And that's, of course, maybe even the more important part here. There it is. So, I hoped you enjoyed our 2 hot laps here. I really did. It's of course, you know, at the one hand physically demanding, but if you compare it to some very extreme sports cars, this one is still fairly easy to handle. Now, over 86,000 euros in the price is the top version C63S, Mercedes-AMG C63S. That's the official description. What we see here is the front is even stronger and we have the use of carbon fiber. Everything is even more accentuated than in the AMG line, and also the grille is actually quite different. We don't have these diamond pins here. This is more this meshed kind of grille, and of course the AMG logo more powerful appearance. However, I think the AMG line still is my favorite from design in the front. Or what's your opinion on that one? Do you prefer more this one or the AMG line, or maybe the total standard grille of the C-Class? What else is different? 19-inch rims are from standard equipment here with the C63S, and then optionally for 5,000 euros you can get those carbon ceramic brakes. And why did they do it for the 5,000 euros? For example, Porsche, they cost even more because they use 4 of these ceramic brakes here. Here we only got them in the front, but this is actually really sufficient because you don't really need them in the back. So in the back we also have the standard brakes then here. They are of course a little bit bigger than, but here the ceramic brakes are actually enough in the front. Then it's also not that expensive to go for this option. And by the way, even if you have bright alloys here, not the black ones, they get actually not that dirty then, even if you're on a racetrack, because it's different, you know, not so much dust is evolving from these ceramic brakes. And also contrasting brake calipers here, very impressive here as well. In the side profile of the AMG version we see those contrasting mirror caps in the carbon fiber. And then we don't have the chrome frame here, but all in black. Everything is kind of dark and evil. Welcome to the evil side. And also a strong spoiler at the side part, again in carbon fiber. But of course the basic form is the same, and we got this very beautiful Coupé line. But I want to hear from you guys really if you really prefer this very aggressive AMG version, or if you would rather go for the rather elegant versions. So it's of course always according to the taste. Brilliant blue is my favorite color for the C-Class. You can always go for it with the normal versions, of course. So this is a Thomas blue in this case. Here at the rear of the AMG version, we got a strong carbon fiber wing. And I'm not that a big fan of rear wings, but this one is very well integrated. You see how it starts a little bit slimmer and then gets bigger at the middle part. So they really have thought about the design in this case. And as I said with the taillights before, they really want to differentiate the normal versions now, because I've talked to a designer earlier, and so they can actually go for the sedan versions and the Coupé version, that they really are distinguished from each other. That is actually the strategy that is behind that. And finally, a strong diffuser here at the rear part and AMG sporting exhaust. And you see AMG logo is printed on the top of the exhaust here. Let's take a look beneath the hood. As I said, the 63S version here, 510 horsepower, about 4 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers. Really, of course, just massive. And hand-built, handcrafted by AMG, and it's the guy that did this one man, one engine concept, so he is responsible for this whole engine. The C63 version without the S, it says 476 horsepower. Doesn't make such a huge difference. It's more about the equipment, because this one here has even more some special features like this electronic rear differential lock, not the mechanical one. The electronic rear differential lock, by the way, there you can adjust how much is the differential really working, kind of from 0 to 100%. The mechanical one always has a fixed ratio at how the differential is actually locked. It's usually about some kind of, I think, 1 to 30, 1 to 40, something like that, I think. But with the electronic one, even more evolved, and so you can very well control. Of course, the car does that for you. Now, what is different with the interior? You see here at the inside of the doors, bright cloth. And then usually you got seats here. Those ones are the special AMG sports seats. They're more like a bucket allied. And well, I would not really recommend them. The other ones are more comfortable. However, they look quite fancy. Usually with the AMG versions, you get Alcantara on the inside and the faux leather Artico on the outside. Well, not Alcantara, it's Dinamica, you know, the competitor brand. That would be the perfect setup, but here the full leather option is displayed, which is not good for racing really. What I really love is that we here got the microfiber on the steering wheel at the outside parts, and that is really great for the grip, and not only for racing style, also when you're just driving it in everyday life, it just feels softer when you have the microfiber at the outside. And the design scheme here on the inside is as well carbon fiber. You see it here, for example, at the middle console part. And although you don't have the airmatic suspension here, there's a special AMG sports suspension, AMG ride control, and there you can also individualize your settings, and that doesn't work with air suspension here, but with special dampers that can adjust them. So how does a C63S behave in everyday driving life? We're going to all the modes as well. Let's start with normal city driving life. Of course, you already hear that difference from the 4-liter displacement and the V8. The same engine is, by the way, used in the Mercedes-AMG GT. We also have the review of that one in our channel. It's also linked in the video description, so you can also compare with that one. And that shows how sporty that car really is. The same engine is used for that one, but of course, why not? Let's first check out the way. But by the way, my verdict about the GPS, generally quite satisfied with it. I think so you always kind of fastly zoom in and out. Let's start the C63S again. And I've been running the engine before, so the engine is already a little bit warm, otherwise I wouldn't do that now. Go into drive mode, then I pick the race mode. It's also even more than Sport Plus is available here. Then I press the ESC off. And then I can hold the pedals, both pedals, then confirm pedal up. And so race start is available. I can push on the brakes with my left foot, hold the acceleration with my right foot. That's 120. Wow, really some incredible stuff. And you don't feel the rear wheels sliding totally away, and the reason for that is this race start, because it's not about you got the most wheel spin, the most power on the ground, you get the most power in a controlled way on the ground. That is the key of the race start, and really works incredible, really. And yeah, we've told you a lot about the performance already on the racetrack. When we're in the Race Plus mode, you hear it when the downshifting process is active. Actually, this exhaust is just like really a monster in itself. And of course, it's not that relaxing for your everyday riding. And also in the Race Plus mode, when you're going over some small speed bumps here now, really feel every inch of the road. So you get the direct contact. And also when you steer, you got a quite stiff, sporty steering wheel, and every command is directly transported. But this kind of stiff ride is of course not very suitable if you're always in the car. And you hear it also now from the RPMs, the car is not shifting up. And if we go now to the Sport Plus mode, here the Sport Plus mode is already a difference and would be comparable, kind of easy to ride then. And if I then go into the comfort mode, relax. Now already with 50 kilometers an hour in 4th gear. The steering wheel feels a little bit softer here now as well. That is then also kind of easy to ride. But still the suspension is of course stiffer than in the normal models here with the AMG models. And also the seating, as I said earlier, you don't have so much room for the to relax your body. So everything is stiffer here as well, or I feel it now here. And so for your everyday riding, I can really recommend to go for the compromise. For example, the C400, or as we've shown with the sedan, the version that will also come for the Coupé, the C450. That would be my recommendation if you want a very sporty ride, but still not searching for this very, very race car. Everything else is kind of the same. Of course, here the most expensive parts are ordered, for example, also with the brakes. We do feel it actually, but it's all more optimized on the race track. So of course this car here will also find its buyers, just those who say, okay, I really want the maximum that is possible technology-wise. But of course others more look at the compromise. And I think the best seller will probably be in future those AMG light models, because they kind of make sense, are emotional and very powerful at the same time. This is, by the way, the head-up display, and it does look a little bit different in the AMG version, definitely. And for example, I've seen in the other version, it's always optional, but you can, for example, also get some GPS information in there. However, if I'm now in the comfort mode, normal Autobahn riding is always possible, of course. And then you always have the V8 as a reserve. And this massive displacement always plays a certain role if you just want to have some fun. Let me put in the ESC again, so that's on, because for normal street driving it doesn't make sense if it's off. But with this rear-wheel drive you can do some great sliding action. You've also seen it on our footage. And so if I feel like I need to overtake someone now, and that's kind of it. So yeah, you get a lot of serenity with this V8, definitely. But there are hardly any chances on the road you can really use that power, for sure. So if you are kind of okay with a sporty and stiff riding, and also compare it to let's say this true sports car build, because this one is still based on a mid-size vehicle, then this one is still very well drivable. So you don't feel kind of that caged in that of I'm in a very small uncomfortable sports car. So again, I think it's a very clever choice if you want, not too uncomfortable car, but still want a kind of sporty car, to go for a C-Class here in the powerful version. So I think overall, no matter which versions you pick, a clever pick then. Yeah, and I mean, as you have the Coupé, even looks more dramatic. And the strange thing is, with this car, you don't kind of see this dramatic Coupé outline when you're sitting inside the car, but somehow you know it, and that influences also your way you feel when driving the car on the inside. Maybe you have experienced that as well with your car, and if you do, then put me that one here in the comments. Now we are here with Georg Waltert. He's a product manager for Mercedes-Me. This is an app that can be ordered with every Mercedes. Well, basically every Mercedes is equipped now with a kind of telephone function for the emergency call. And there, this app actually can be attached. And how does it really work? What Mercedes models do this already have?
So we introduced it already last year in September in the S-Class and in the C-Class in the first time. And now we roll it out for every model range. And now it's available in every model range except the SL and SLK, but they will follow very immediately. So the communication box is installed in every car as standard equipment. So the e-call is standard in every Mercedes over the whole life cycle of the car. So even if you do an accident in 10 years in Spain, the car will send the data to our provider. They know exactly where the accident was, how many people are in the car. Because of the seat recognition sensors, we know there's only one person or 4 persons in the car. And we know also your language, because we look at the display, which language is installed, and you get a German operator, even if you make an accident in Spain.
And the Mercedes-Me map, I heard about 1/3 of the Mercedes customer already use this app or have it installed, registered for it. How does it work? How do you have to register? And what are the future plans for this app?
Okay, so at first the customer has to register at the Mercedes-Me site with his own email address and his own password. And if we do that, the dealer will connect his car to this account, and then he is able to use this app with all these features.
And you also have to have the command, for example, the big GPS, or have to pay 150 euros extra. That's
right,
the deal.
Right.
Kind of.
So the eCall is standard in every car. If you order the command, then this app is included for 3 years. And if you have only the Audio 20 head unit, so normal radio, you have to pay 150 euro also for 3 years. And after 3 years, of course, you can increase this contract with us on the Mercedes-Me side.
So let's see what this app can do so far. Of course, there are more services planned for the future. And about security, we'll also take a step into that, because security is actually ensured by that there's never a direct connection from the app to the car. It always goes via the Mercedes service. So let's see what this app can do.
This is a Mercedes-Me app, which works for every car since last year. So in this app, I can check how is the status of my car. Here I see my car is not closed. Maybe I have forgot to close my car. And I can very easily close my car via this app from every point of the world. So I open this button, press this button and say, okay, I would like to close my car. This request is now sent to our server, at our Mercedes-Me backend server. And this request comes to the car, and now you see the car is closed very, very fast. And of course, I can also check more than this. I can check how is the full tank of my car, how is the range. I can check the tire pressure. Tire pressure is okay. And I can also check, are my doors open, how is my battery, and many things I can check on this app. But of course I can do more things with that. Maybe I'm in a foreign city and I've parked my car, and after 2 hours sightseeing I'm not exactly informed about where I have parked my car. So I can check this via this app, and I see in this case I'm beside of my car, and it's very easy to find the car in foreign cities. But also very convenient is to send destinations to my car. For example, if I search for a destination, for example for McDonald's, so the app recognized my voice, and now the app is searching for the next McDonald's. He finds different McDonald's. I choose one. Now it shows me the way to the next McDonald's on the app, and in the same time this destination was sent to the car. If I enter the car now, the pop-up menu appears and the address of the McDonald's is already in the navigation, and I only have to press OK and I can start my navigation. And even if I don't find a parking space at the McDonald's, I park 200 meters away from them. I park in a park house, and if I close my ignition, the car itself sends its destination back to my app, and my app will show me the last mile to the next McDonald's. I entered the car, and immediately the pop-up menu appears with the address of the McDonald's, and I only have to press OK or yes, and then the navigation takes over this address, and I can start very easily to this destination.
Now to the conclusion of the all-new C-Class Coupé. First of all, from the exterior, really so beautiful. So I think they have done a fantastic job there. And what I especially appreciate, I really don't like the rear on the C-Class sedan, but I do like the rear on the C-Class Coupé now. So well done there. And just from the exterior, if you think about who does need actually an S-Class Coupé now. By the way, the review of the S-Class Coupé is also linked in the video description, but I think there it's really more about status, because the interior is kinda as refined. You got, for example, great wood and or aluminum interiors there. Also from the standard equipment, actually great seats, I've told you earlier, with a mix of cloth or Alcantara on the inside and faux leather on the outside. best combination you can get from the standard equipment. So don't go for the shown optional leather seats there. Then you already get from the standard equipment really great interior, and actually don't need an S-Class there as well. As for the driving, of course, a very dynamic ride, and even a little bit more dynamic than the sedan version. You know, the car sits 50 millimeters lower, that helps, has a little bit of more sportier setup, especially here with the C400, with the Airmatic, with the air suspension. That was a great ride because it was comfortable on one hand, but sporty if you also want to go in the Sport Plus mode and then ride the hell out of it. Really like the V6 as well. Also with the all-wheel drive, a really controlled feeling. And then, no, we also had the C63S. That was such a brutal ride, just with the rear-wheel drive and so much power, even more power than you need. If you really appreciate this pure, brutal power, well, then it's the car for you. But it's, of course, almost, again, almost double the price even than this one here. So I cannot recommend you to go for the C63S. It's just, I mean, if you just have so much money and don't care and really want to have this power boost, of course, it's very impressive and has an amazing sound, really. So, and as for a lot of Mercedes reviews, it says a lot of things are really very beautiful, especially from design, great driving, but then again, it always stays with the high price. Thank you very much for watching Autogefühl. I want to hear your comments on the exterior, interior and the driving experience. Which one would you pick here now? C400, C63S, or maybe another model you know from the configurator, by the way, for example. Or you're maybe waiting for the 450 AMG Coupé version, maybe because you like the sedan review from us. Tell us all of that in the comments, and I hope to see you at the next Autogefühl episode. Really enjoyed doing this here together with you today. Thanks and bye.